what strikes me more about the judgment is the speed with which it came, and the smooth reactions that it has received. The Nigerians seem to care less about the outcome. Nevertheless, the expectation was that having raised such issues, because forgery is a constitutional matter when it comes to election, and the Supreme Court, being a court of justice that had the inherent powers to actually look at any issue. If the Supreme Court wanted to actually consider, it could have invoked its powers under Section 6 of the Constitution, but to limit itself within the jurisdictional limit of Section 285 of the Constitution, is saying that all of those pieces of evidence could have been brought within 180 days at the tribunal, showed that the Supreme Court was not willing to shake the tables and the shares within the political space. But again, it's good that there's an end to the litigation, the election litigation. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his team will no longer have the excuse of saying they are keeping some things in waiting. Even though I saw a President Tinubu that expressed a lot of faith in the gale of appointment he was making, despite the pendency of the matter at the Supreme Court. Wasn't too impressed when President Tinubu's reaction is to his team and his staffers that their jobs are secure. That's not the impression that should come after the judgment. Of course, the statement looked quite presidential and quite inspiring. But to think the impression that it gives to Nigerians when you say your jobs are secure is that government is a matter of profit. It's a matter of patronage. That is, people who work in government, who are political appointees, are there first for their own interest. And that's so the expectation is that if their jobs are secure, they will be whining and dining tonight, drinking champagne, that they are victorious. Whereas there is a lot of problems facing Nigerians at this time. If I would have expected more somber mode in the presidency, because we had a very seriously and keenly contested election, and not only that, something that was close to a near bitter fight in the pursuit of evidence to prove that he forged the documents that he presented to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Even though these are supposed to be insignificant issues, considering the enormity of the problems and the weight of governance that he has, one should expect that the president and his team should have just taken this judgment as something which the president also alluded to as a call to serious national duty and not a time for unnecessary celebration.
Imagine a country where its citizens get to enjoy the road without this. Imagine a country where unprecedented fuel scarcity does not cause panic at the filling station. That is why Innocent Vehicles has embarked on manufacturing environmental-friendly gas-powered cars while still offering comfort, luxury, and doggedness for the African roads. Innocent Vehicles, the pride of African roads.
Well, very well said, Mr. Tietia. But I'm wondering what impact this ruling will have on voter confidence when it seems INEC right now cannot be trusted to keep its rules, considering the fact that the Supreme Court said the failure to transmit election results electronically, as INEC promised, did not affect the outcome of the election.
Well, let me be honest with you. As commentators on the news and trends, we've been accused of sparing INEC too much, of not actually laying the blame where it ought to be, and that the issues that we're focusing on the issues that either Atiku Abubakar or Peter Obi are bringing on the table. INEC actually holds a lot of blame in this whole thing. INEC has let Nigerians down several times. INEC, having had all the resources that it has always requested for to conduct elections, will constantly leave Nigerians in doubt. I will not be able to, to raise the integrity bar of our elections. It's a big shame that INEC will allow this country to waste so much resources in terms of, in the judicial process and all other combined issues, waste resources in such very needless and reckless manner just to defend an election that he could not conduct in a manner that will engender confidence. INEC has actually been a failure. The Supreme Court didn't really excuse INEC. It said, look, if INEC had said that the IREF was a factor, that it was going to upload the results on the IREF portal for Nigerians to follow, for Nigerians to track what was going on, and it failed to do so, no doubt, the Supreme Court said that no doubt that would affect the confidence of the Nigerians in the electoral process. But however, it couldn't have agreed because it was a statutory matter. The matter in terms of collation is statutory and not a matter of policy or a rule made by INEC. And that if the failure did not and could not have been the basis for obtaining the election. Yes, so INEC holds a lot of blame. And in that case, there should be a lot of scrutiny on the next generation of leaders of the Independent National Electoral Commission. I think we've indeed spared INEC unnecessarily. I think when you raise the issue of voter confidence, INEC didn't even do so much in attempting to cure voter apathy in this election. Look at the figures, that less than 25% of Nigerians voting to elect a president. It shows that Nigerians are already not interested in the electoral process. But a lot will depend on the outcome of the 4-year rule of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whether he can engender that interest in Nigerians to make determinations. In fact, if we have seen a more robust political space where the election at local government levels, state and ultimately federal levels are more responsive to the needs of the people, I mean, I'm talking about governance. If governance has been more responsive to the need of the people, then we will see a greater number of participants in the coming elections. But we see government, and that is the problem, as a place where people go and get easy money, get easy appointment, get easy access to the national cake. And so the people believe that it is not about them. But when they realize, we see the number of policies that are being rolled out in the FCT that are now impacting people, and then people are now beginning to ask questions. If the other party were in power, would we have this kind of policies? When such questions are coming up, I believe that it will be natural for Nigerians to now take interest in the electoral process. But if it is INEC has been a disservice, undoubtedly a big disservice and a big, letdown to Nigerians when it comes to increasing voter confidence. No, INEC has been the problem.
And in that same vein, Frank, we know that the off-season elections will be taking place in couple weekends in Imo Bayelsa and Kogi State. Do you anticipate that this ruling will have any effect on the way INEC goes about carrying out their duties that day?
I very much doubt. The go-to-court cliche is something that INEC has established, that it will just carry out any election with minimum standards and any disaffected party can just go to court. So I don't think so. INEC has put a seal on INEC's ineptitude and carelessness. That is the way I think the judgment, that's the impact I think the judgment will make and give to INEC. INEC will continue to do its business as usual, conduct the elections to the best of its, not to the best of its ability, but with not even below minimum standards, and then expect that disgruntled elements should go to court, and while it minds its business, and then appropriate its resources and its budgetary allocations for litigation and pay so much to lawyers. That shouldn't really be. I have always challenged INEC and its leadership that they have everything it takes to conduct elections, and those who lost will extend a handshake to the winners and say, yes, they believe that they lost, and then they will use the indices of the election to plan for their next campaign season. But INEC has seemed to operate as if it's participant. It has interest in any of these parties. It shouldn't be so. And as if we've seen too much of prebendalism in the way the elections in Nigeria, elections generally in Nigeria have been conducted. INEC has not done anything to reduce that. So it has still been a money affair, the greater influence, and then the abuse and misuse of security forces in the way elections are managed. INEC can do better. But If you ask me, and my answer to you, that question, whether this will have any impact in the way INEC conducts election in the off-season elections, I would say no.